Now, Eustass Kidd. Now, this is the second part to my Supernova Trio power expectations for Wano. If you guys haven't seen the Law video, links will be down below for that. Now, before we get into this video, I believe that Kidd is most likely awakened or will awaken in this arc. Now, in Wano, there has been two Supernova captains that are actively trying to get back at Kaido, and these two Supernovas were defeated at the hands of Kaido. First being Luffy and the other being Kidd. Oda has highlighted these two as them being the bigger players in terms of the alliance's battle against Kaido, and it makes sense as these two have personal gripes against Kaido, so it is only reasonable to think that they will get some sort of revenge back on Kaido in a major way. And for Kidd, I feel like it's even deeper because Kaido broke one of his crewmates, Killer, and also force-fed him a smile, which led to Kidd acting in ways that we've never seen before, and this is because he has deep ties with Killer that goes all the way even back to their childhood. And so seeing Killer in that shape triggered something new within Kidd. And honestly, I believe because of how personal it is for Luffy and Kidd, these two are going to be the deciding factors into beating Kaido as well as Law. And the many scenes we see in Udon with Luffy and Kidd arguing about who's going to defeat Kaido is proof of all of this. And I feel like given how different they are in terms of how they operate, they will achieve different things in perspective to their character. Luffy wants to beat Kaido and save Wano. Kidd wants to defeat Kaido because of what he did to him and his crew. So there might be some sort of conflict after Kaido was defeated. But enough about that. We've already established that Kidd is going to be a powerhouse in this battle, and when I say that, the only other person I would put above him right now would be Luffy for obvious reasons. Luffy is a protagonist and so on, but as of right now, both Luffy and Kidd should be comfortably sitting on or around first mate level, with the potential of being stronger when pushed to their limits. Now, we've seen Luffy's journey so far throughout the course of the New World and the countless power-ups he's had in the span of a few months. But what about Kidd, who literally spent 2 years in the New World actively going up against the Yonkos? I think this battle will dictate if Kidd is worthy to be Luffy's rival moving forward, and honestly, I think that he will. And this isn't just based off of the obvious portrayal that's been shown time and time again, but words that came from Oda himself, whereas he mentioned that he had more plans for Kidd more so than Law, and we know that Oda did a lot for Law, and Law's progression even came as a surprise to Oda himself. And I don't think Oda has forgotten about Kidd, even though we're not getting a lot with Kidd yet so far. There hasn't been anything substantial yet, but I think it's coming. I'm starting to think that the rivalry between Luffy and Kidd will truly be a thing after this war. I mean, at this point, given that they are doing some sort of competition as to who will defeat Kaido, I think this is the indication that it is pretty much started. And so, going back to Kidd here, the fact that he spent 2 years actively going up against the Yonkos is a massive feat in of itself. Now, granted, people will say that Luffy trained for 2 years, so he should be miles ahead, right? And a training regiment that came from Rayleigh, who is a legend in the One Piece world, and probably the best trainer anyone could ever get. And while this is true to some extent, we also have to realize how much stronger Luffy became just from the experience of fighting people stronger than him. Luffy's battle against Katakuri made him jump a tier to the point that after that fight, we started putting Luffy around first commander level. Even if you think Katakuri made him win or not, there's no doubt that Luffy grew massively from that fight. And so with Kidd, who has about 2 years of fighting experience in the New World, granted he did not have a master to train him in the forms of haki, but I think it's very plausible that Kidd bloomed several times during this time period, and his scars could be the indication of this, meaning he most likely engaged in battles that pushed him to his limits, and we know for sure that he encountered at least 2 Yonko commanders during this time skip. The first one being one of Big Mom's commanders, unlikely that it is Katakuri, but very likely to be Smoothie or Cracker, and we know that he injured said commander, got what he intended to get back from Big Mom, and left whole cake in one piece. And so if you take a step back, you will truly realize how impressive that is given what the Straw Hats went through in Whole Cake Island. Now, I've made a video talking about this, saying that it was most likely Smoothie that he fought because I think she's missing an eye. Again, I'm not sure if we're going to see Smoothie again, but I think that her and Kidd might have an encounter in this arc, and then maybe then and there, it will be revealed that she was the commander that he injured. Now, the other commander being a commander of Shanks' crew, a lot of people speculate that it might be very well Ben Beckman, who has the portrayal of being possibly the strongest commander amongst all the Yonko's crew. But again, we don't know which commander Kidd fought, but this commander was said to have been the person to cut off Kidd's arm. So just like Luffy, Kidd has a track record of fighting commanders. Granted, he did not win against any of them, but the fact that Oda is placing Kidd in these situations against Yonko commanders could mean that he's very powerful and is able to combat them to some extent. We do also know that Kidd's bounty rose to about 475 million during the pre-time skip to post-time skip, meaning that he did something significant that we're not aware of yet, and something that might be an indication of him growing as a fighter. We know that after Doflamingo was defeated, Luffy's bounty reached 500 mil, but Kidd was already teetering on 500 mil, so there might be more off-screen details that hasn't been presented to us yet, just like the Rocky Port incident with Law. Now, while I do think that Kidd bloomed in the New World, I don't think he has the advanced haki of any regard, right? I'd say he's very proficient with the base forms, but not the advanced levels, with the exception of ornaments, because it's the only form of haki that sort of complements his devil fruit. So I think he does know Rio, but doesn't have the internal destruction one that Luffy has, or as some people say, level 4 ornament haki. But on the other side, we know that Kidd has a devil fruit power with a ceiling that I think could make it a top tier devil fruit ability. I wouldn't put it above Law's, but I would definitely put it above Luffy's. Again, this is taking their devil fruits from a base standpoint. And with Kidd, I feel like ever since he got into the New World, he was very reliant on his devil fruit abilities, and because his devil fruit ability was something that he used all the time, it's only natural that he would train his best source of power. Now, Kidd's devil fruit power is electromagnetism. It hasn't been named yet or defined by anyone in the series yet, but based on the things that we do see, it falls in line with magnetism, right? And this is a really strong ability to have, as it basically gives you the power to have control over magnetism via electric currents. And usually when I think of this ability, I think of Magneto from X-Men. Now, in terms of what Kidd's awakening is going to be, again, just like Law, I feel like his awakening is something that would fix his drawback. Now, you guys are probably wondering, what is Kidd's drawback, right? Now, one of the main issues with Kidd is that for him to use his ability, metal has to be present in some way, shape, or form. And even in the current chapters of Wano, he makes preparations before heading to fight Kaido. And so if not prepared and with no metals in the vicinity, Kidd would be heavily nerfed, depending on if he wants to use his devil fruit on a large scale. So in a sense, the environment could be a detriment to Kidd in a fight. And so the perfect awakening for him would be similar to those of Katakuri and Doflamingo, but not exactly to the same extent. With Doflamingo and Katakuri, they have the ability to turn their surrounding into their own element. But with Kidd, it follows the same principle in some regard, but its application would be much different. Whereas Kidd is able to put a magnetic pulse on his surrounding, given everything around him magnetic properties, meaning that he would be able to control everything in the environment regardless if it's metal or not. And with this, the need of preparing large amounts of metal would be pointless, as he can now use his magnetic abilities on any material. And because he's able to affect his surrounding on such a scale, this might drastically improve the scale of the magnetism, whereas he's able to attract and repel much bigger objects on scales that we've never seen before. And I am of the mindset that the giant sword that we see on Onigashima may become Kidd's weapon at a certain point during this fight, as his magnetism has so much power that he can control magnetized objects of that scale. Again, we have so many powerful fighters in this arc that Onigashima could be destroyed before it even gets to Wano. Even in the anime, when Big Mom and Kaido were fighting, some of the beast pirates were saying that the island wouldn't hold up much longer, and this was just them having a casual battle. And so you can imagine when you add the 3 strongest supernova who have a lot to show into that mix, the scale of the attacks that we're going to see are going to be on scales that we've never seen before. But overall, what are your thoughts on this? What is your version of Kidd's awakening, and how do you see Kidd improving moving forward? But comment out below what you guys think. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more One Piece content. The next video in this series should be Luffy, and man, there is a lot to be said there, which is the reason I left it for last. But again, it is Ferro, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.